All right. We back. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. All right. We should be straight now. All right. This is what you call. I can't get this. Okay.
Seawater and creating this.
All right. So I want y'all to check this out. All right. Now, this was mentioned a little over 1,500 years ago in the Quran, all right? But if you look at the two waters, you see the fresh water and the salt water. And they meet, but they don't go together, okay? They don't intermix.
What you are looking at in this footage is freshwater meeting seawater, which was filmed where the Fraser River enters the Strait of Georgia in Vancouver, Canada. This is where the freshwater of the river, which is full of silt, meets the denser clear blue salt water of the ocean, making it look like there are two separate bodies of water, not mixing. Now, it may appear like the freshwater is pushing back the seawater and creating this boundary between the two waters, but that's not the case. The two waters are mixing. It just doesn't look like it. When the fresh water crosses the boundary to become salt water, it suddenly becomes very clear, which is why the boundary seems to exist between the dirty and clear waters. The brown murkiness of the river water is suspended sediments, which are silts and clays carried by the fresh water. However, salt ions in the seawater bind to suspended particles and cause them to stick together, causing them to become heavier and sink to the bottom of the ocean, making the water become clear.
Now, y'all see that barrier, right? So that's like something amazing because you have these waters right near each other, but there's a barrier. God said that created a barrier so that they won't mix. Okay. Now, if you go on and listen to this guy, he'll try to come up for a reason with why they are mixing, but it doesn't make any sense. You can see the distinction between the two waters, right?
Right.
Okay.
Amen.
So it's you know, like I said, it's so important to live a righteous life and to try to stay on a straight path, you know, from the guidance of God. All right. But now here we go. Let me show you something else. In last week's discussion, we ended with what? The class divided, right? Where the teacher did the experiment with the brown eyes and the blue eyes.
Right.
And showed how fast, you know, they turned on each other. So racism really isn't the big thing about color. It's about power and privilege. All right, let me show you this. This is another video. And this is from the Puerto Rican Day Parade one year.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
All right? Yeah, check this out.
The viral video shows a moment Ida Guzman wishes she could forget. The moment when a police officer turned.
We're about the third week into Kathy's weight loss battle, where things really started to go downhill. She was.
All right, here it goes.
Turns around, walks over to her, punches her in the face.
I feel angry. Very angry.
Moments earlier, a man standing behind Guzman throws water from a bottle towards police at the corner of 5th and Lehigh. Guzman says she never saw that happen and certainly never expected an officer to hit her after the Puerto Rican Day Parade. After he hit me, he didn't even ask if I needed to go to the hospital. Guzman has marks on her lip where the punch landed and on her elbow where she fell. She says she feels insecure. I don't wish anything bad to happen to him, but I do wish something is done because he's a police officer.
That was for no reason, though.
Guzman's daughter, Kay, saw the video for the first time this afternoon. She says she is stunned by what she calls a complete overreaction to something that didn't involve her mom.
And I hope my mom gets press charges, and I hope justice be done to it because he shouldn't have his job.
Guzman says she hasn't missed the Puerto Rican Day Parade since she moved here 19 years ago, but now she says she's not sure she feels safe enough to ever go again.
All right. Now, one more. Okay, I want you to check this one out. And in that situation, you see, it was a black cop. Okay.
Yeah.
Rico is still dealing with the devastating effects of Hurricane Maria, nearly 16 months after the deadly Category 4 storm slammed ashore. 3.2 million Americans live in the U.S. territory. 2017, Puerto Rico had
Tonight, exclusive video of a Sacramento County Sheriff's deputy hitting a man with his flashlight and putting his foot on that man's head. Tonight, that deputy is on leave after we shared this video with the department. Now we're getting a clearer picture of how the confrontation unfolded. KCRA3's Sharakina Shams talked to the Sheriff's Department, the man arrested, and the witness who captured it all.
This video shows a Sacramento County Sheriff's deputy standing over a man laying in the street. And then the officer forces the man's head against the ground with his foot and uses a flashlight to strike him repeatedly.
There are portions of that video clearly that cause me concern. And that is exactly what has caused the department to initiate the investigation, to ensure that we get to the bottom of it.
But the Sheriff's Department also says this was one portion of a longer incident. Before the camera started rolling, they say the man was resisting arrest. In fact, the officer had also repeatedly used a taser and pepper spray.
Let's face it, had the suspect complied with the officer's directives from the initial contact and beyond, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about this today.
But I mean, you clearly see this man is stomping on this man's head and beating him with a flashlight. And these are two white people. All right. So you can see it's a thing. It's not really this color thing, is power and privilege. All right. Go ahead. Somebody wanted to say something?
No, it's just, you know, it's just a crazy world out there now, and a lot of people aren't thinking before they react.
Right.
You know, that's why you should have that moral about yourself, as far as, you know, have God in the midst of all of this while you're going through life or going through your day, because you can come up against stuff like that and you don't have him in it, you know, that things can go really crazy.
Right. All right. So let me play the rest of it, because I want you to hear some of the other things that they're saying.
Listen to this exchange once the officer has started to use the flashlight. The man on the ground is John Reyes.
I have a puncture wound.
He now has a gash in his forehead and a black eye.
How can I roll over when my body's twitching with 100,000 volts going through it?
Reyes admits he approached the officer to tell him that his patrol vehicle was blocking part of the intersection.
I asked him kindly to move the car. He glared at me and stared at me, and I said in explicative, "You need to move the car because I can't get through."
The confrontation escalated as the officer questioned Reyes about being on probation. Reyes has been arrested in the past for drug possession, carrying a concealed weapon. The man who shot this video is Michael White, who was passing by yesterday at the intersection of Fair Oaks and Landis in Carmichael. White offers a different version of what happened with the taser before he started shooting video.
The cop was walking around him, and he tased him several times. And you can see the guy's body convulse about 3 or 4 times. And he's not yelling or anything. He's not trying to get away. I think he should get fired. I think he should go to jail. I don't think administrative leave is enough.
In Carmichael, Sharakina Shams, KCRA3 News.
So, any other thoughts on that clip? Because he said all he was doing was asking the officer could he move his car a little bit so he could get around.
I feel like we live in a police state, and
That's it.
At the end of the day, no matter, I have yet to ever hear in my lifetime where officers say that officer was wrong. But they expect us to comply in the community and rat people out who are in our community to do certain things. So if y'all can't tell against the blue when it's clear on camera as for so many years, how do you expect us to cooperate with you guys?
Right. And then the thing is that you see it in all colors.
Also,
right? So it's not, it's that whole thing of power and privilege. And what this system has done is given power and privilege to one group over all of the rest, you know. So it's very, very, very interesting. All right. But now I want to move on to the next clip I wanted to show you. This is a guy named Matthew Whitaker. All right. And check him out.
What could this travesty mean for the future of our republic? Here to answer that question, former acting U.S. Attorney General Matt Whitaker. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, long after.
And this is an attorney general, former attorney general, all right?
Trump is gone, whether he's reelected or serves 2 terms. What happens next if this is what you can do to upend a presidency?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of payback. You're going to see a future Republican House Speaker that's going to be able to declare a impeachment inquiry and then follow it up with exactly what's happening right now. Secret testimony, selective leaking to preferred outlets, and I think it's not good for the Republic, especially 13 months before we have another election. And it's from what I can tell and from my experience, really a lifetime in this game, both in the state of Iowa and in Washington, D.C. This is just not good for the Republic.
Well, and it's corrosive, and yet those who are perpetrating it,
you're going to have to give us gist of this one, Brother Rashid, because it's freezing.
It's freezing again?
A man whose policies they disagree with so vehemently, and whose tone and whose demeanor they have utter disdain for. I really go back to that. They never saw him as legitimate.
Is it still freezing?
The insurance policy of Peter Strzok failed.
No,
Mueller failed. And now they're on to the next thing.
Well, and he's these global elitists, these careerists have made promises to our
that is freezing up again.
Set in place a world establishment that operated a certain way. And President Trump has asked questions like, why do we do this way? Why don't people pay?
That is buffing.
Germany and France, why don't they pay 2% into NATO? And these kind of questions, which again has completely upset the apple cart, has he is being punished for this. And again, I'm a former prosecutor, and what I know is this is a perfect time for a preliminary hearing where you would say, show us your evidence. What evidence of a crime do you have? I mean, the Constitution, power is not a crime. Let's fundamentally believe.
So did you hear his statement? Did y'all hear his statement?
Total frozen.
It's frozen? All right, I'm going to try to go in another room. Closer to the source. Okay. All right, now I froze the screen. Y'all tell me if it...
What's your evidence? What evidence of a crime do you have? I mean, the Constitution, sort of...
Is it better now? Is it better now?
Press play, Brother Rashid.
Abuse of power is not a crime. Let's fundamentally boil it down to, the Constitution is very clear that this has...
All right, is it good for y'all?
No, keep freezing up, man.
Dang.
Can't you just tell us what he talked about?
Yeah, well, he's saying that abuse of power is not a crime. So when we see these different things of police brutality, they don't consider it. They don't consider it a crime, so it's not really important to them.
Because somebody had to do something to make them use excessive force. Excessive force is always justified.
Right. Well, yeah, to them, yeah, they find some sort of reason to justify it. Exactly.
And then also, you know, there's just no laws that states that it's a crime. You know what I mean? It's not really saying that we don't feel like it's a crime morally, but what it's stating is that there's no laws to stand on to enforce that.
Right. Right.
Definitely.
You heard me?
Because police officers.
Okay, well, let me ask you something. So, what are you saying that there has to be a written law to state the morality of a situation?
What I'm saying is, if you was sitting up there and you was in court and you had a lawyer defending you without no evidence that any laws was broken, you're going to lose.
Amen.
You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. I'm saying it's not written. It's not written down anywhere. That was this guy's point. I actually seen that interview. You know what I mean? And there's nothing stating that abuse of power is in that he broke any types of laws by doing that. It's not saying that whether it was morally correct or not, but in order for you to prosecute somebody, it has to be a law broken somewhere. That's all I was saying.
And for me, the cops have immunity. They have absolute immunity. The Supreme Court a couple weeks ago shot down even speaking about police immunity. So anything that these guys do, they have immunity. They have full precedence from the Supreme Court to treat you any type of way.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And the thing is that they break their own laws anyway all the time at their convenience. So, you know, like Brother Marion was saying, that's kind of like how this system works, and the goal is for us to try to start really looking at how this system works. All right, but let's move on because I want to
go to Brother Rashid.
Yeah,
let's see if that one works.
See if this one works.
I have a different point of view. My name is Carlton Young.
Hey,
How you
Young.
doing? All right. My thing is that this is a spiritual thing, and we're all actors. The policemen, the guys walking the street, myself as well. And that God gave me something in like 4 o'clock in the morning saying, "Hey, what is LSD?" And I couldn't understand what he kept saying. Asking me what was LSD because I never did drugs. And then he said, it stands for Lucifer, Satan, and the devil, you see. And it's basically saying that we just act for what Satan sets up. And we all part of it. And this is why people say, well, I don't know why I did this. I don't know why I did that. I mean, can you imagine, how could you be on a guy's neck from Floyd, and he's dying, and he's telling you, you're choking me. And this man destroyed 5 families. And plus, he destroyed the cities where riots and stuff. I know he's sitting down like, why did I do that? What did I accomplish from it? And that's what the devil does. He gives you no reason for what you do. He just can't do it.
And see, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
And if more people would get involved with the Bible and with whatever religion you're in and start following it.
Amen.
That's what he's here for. He's here to destroy us.
Exactly.
Because he helped us.
That and he said he's trying to divide us.
And he's trying to divide us.
Yeah.
You know what? I read something the other day, and it said that at some point I will get to the realization that I cannot use the alibi of me being a human being to justify my bad behavior. So all of that other stuff, I mean, people know when they doing wrong. They just don't care, and they don't want to correct themselves because For some, I don't know why, but they just don't. I mean, there's just no love because, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, we all human beings, but we can't accept the fact that, okay, I'm a human being, justify my bad behavior. No, that's not gonna fly no more. Not with me. That's bullshit.
But see, the added thing with that is that thing of power and privilege. See, I always say that, you know, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. But the thing is that if you have a strong moral base, then, you know, that kind of fights off that power and privilege thing a little bit, you know, because, you know, like you said, it's about Satan, or Shaitan, as a Muslim will call him. You know, it's about his whispers and him trying to deviate us from the path of God, you know.
And it's from the White House to my house.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
indeed.
like that one.
Yes, indeed.
From my house to the White House. Absolutely.
From White House. He don't care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was a good one, good brother.
Thank you.
All right. All
Yeah,
right.
I wanted to just add something to all of that.
Go ahead, good brother.
As like you said, as far as the dividing water, that's like as far as in life, you got the good against the evil, you know, and just like the power thing, you know, the where the cops can, you know, loop stuff to their advantage, but is do not add or decrease what my word. But that's how I feel that life should be too, as far as in the laws that are in the world.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
You know, because when you go like above that, those ones like I'm a who is it? Fortune was saying, as far as these people that they don't get convicted because they are lost in the world. You can only pray for them and just, you know, stay out of the way and let God do what he got to do. You know.
Well, they only disguises.
Huh?
I said, and what they're wearing is just disguises.
Yeah, they are just wolves in sheep's clothing, you know, that they come to seek and destroy and kill, you know, and like them, just like I told my twin brother, I was like, yo, just sit back and watch how God let the wicked consume themselves with their wicked ways and devices, you know, because, you know, us as Christians, you know, or Muslim or whatever, we got to seek God, you know, refuge in all of this, you know, because it's crazy, you know, because the devil is having his way with the ones that love the world, you know.
All right, so
go
ahead, brother. You had something to say?
No, I was in corrections for 18 years. And my attitude was that when I went in the system, I thought I had a gun, stick, and a whistle when I went in the prison system, because that's what I saw on TV. My attitude was also to come in and say, hey, I'm better than the people that don't. You know what I mean? And so that's what the system teaches.
Right.
Until I was in there like maybe 2 years, 3 years, and God tapped me on my shoulder and said, this could have been you. You remember when that man stole that $30,000 from you, from your business, they put you out of business? He said, you wanted to have him killed. These guys came to your office and will set you up and won't going to cost you nothing. But down the road, you've been the fall guy. You know? So it made me realize that my whole attitude had to start changing once I got my vested time in the system. You know what I mean? Because that's only a trap.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, how many people actually really, really rely on the power of God? I mean, because what I see today, nobody really rely on the power of God, because look at we walking around with masks on. We walking around scared to talk to one another in person. So if you really truly believe in the power of God, you wouldn't fear the things that are going on in the world. You would do something to correct them, not run away from it.
But hey, brother Saeed, I just like to piggyback over that. I don't think God. I don't walk in fear, but God also gives man common sense too.
That gives us that discernment that we need.
He does give us common sense, but I mean, come on now. If you do your own research, you would know that the things that are being portrayed in the media is censored and it's false and it's a lie.
But we know I know people personally who've died of COVID. So it's like at the end of the day,
they died of the complications,
okay,
not of the. It's like,
and I agree to disagree, but I think definitely it's just like a headache. You could walk around with a headache, or you could take Tylenol for it. The headache is real, and the Tylenol is soothing. So if you have an issue and it's something that God gives man thought, God gives man ingenuity for us to create. That's why we have everything from music to TV. So if you have a God gives us the art of creation, then take the science, take what's given to you. I'm not saying that everything you see on TV is real, of course not. But if I got a headache and I got Tylenol, I'm gonna take the Tylenol to the headache. That's all.
Okay, so what? All right, never mind.
No.
I guess I'm like what I'm like is because I have a severe heart condition, and I used to live in fear. And then when I stopped saying, why am I living in fear? Why am I being paranoid? Why am I shaking in my boots? That's not living.
No.
Hey, that is confusing you. That's the enemy confuse you. I got a heart problem, and I'm gonna tell you, back in November when the COVID was really here, but they said that it was a type A flu. I went there and stayed in the emergency for 9 hours, went home. By the time I got back home, I felt rotten. And my doctors called him and told them to tell him to come back. I came back and I stayed there for 2 weeks. Now, I'm not living in fear of the COVID. I don't wear the mask all the time, but God gives me discernment when to use it when I go into the stores, as far as walking around. Long as I ain't touching nothing or nobody kissing me or whatever, I don't worry about it.
Well,
much faith in God.
I guess I have
to get on this, the COVID, but I don't want to take too much time because it's a hard time to go through these.
I apologize. I just wanted to.
Oh, no, you're good brother. But we're going to definitely talk about the COVID, all right? Because we got to kind of see what's going on, all right? But we'll get back to that, all right? But I always include some of the definitions so that we can, because words are important, and we got to make sure we understand that word to the fullest. Okay, like I said before, they didn't want the slaves to be able to read because they didn't want them to be able to understand what was going on. All right, here we go. The first one is power, and it said, as a noun, it says the ability or capacity to do something. Often plural, a specific ability, capacity, or faculty, political, financial, social, etc., force or influence, and control or dominion, or a position of control, dominion, or authority. And as a verb, it says to give or provide power to. So when that guy said that abuse of power is not a crime, he's saying financial, political, financial, social, all this stuff is not a crime if you abuse those things, But let's go to the next one. Let's go down to privilege. All right. Privilege, a right or immunity or benefit enjoyed only by a person beyond the advantages of most. A special right, immunity, or exemption granted to persons in authority or office to free them from certain obligations or liabilities. A grant to an individual or corporation, etc., of a special right or immunity under certain conditions in the principle or condition of enjoying special rights or immunities. So basically, this thing of rights, of power and privilege, like I said, the organizers of this system have given one group power and privilege over the other groups. All right. So it's a very interesting dynamic, but you have to see where it's coming from. As I told people before, this system is not man's system; it's Satan's system.
Amen. Amen.
Right?
Amen. It's man-made.
Man-made. right? But he's just following the whispers of Shaitan or Satan, okay?
That's what they're doing.
Right. And if you, I want to show you some things that's very interesting, especially what he's doing with this entertainment or this distraction system, okay? But let's move on because I want to get to the next video, all right? And this one is very interesting. This is a video by a man named Aaron Russo. Aaron Russo was a he was a director, producer in Hollywood. I think he did Trading Places. He also did some Bette Midler movie, and he started getting into politics and stuff. So an attorney friend of his asked him if he wanted to meet one of the Rockefellers. All right, and the Rockefellers, this elite family, right? So he said, sure, I'll meet him. So he met the guy, and the guy would talk, you know, they started going to dinner, and the guy started telling him all kinds of stuff. All right. So I want you, this is one thing that he told him. I want you to see this. This is very, very interesting. All right. Okay. This is Aaron Russo. Make sure.
We were talking. We was at the house one night, and we were talking. He started laughing. He said, "Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about?"
Let me ask y'all, what do y'all think the women's lib movement was about?
Oh,
go ahead,
okay.
brother. Go ahead.
Okay, it started in 1848. That's when it started, but it did not get a momentum until after the Civil War, and when black men were given the right to vote. When black men were given the right to vote, the feminist movement white women had a total fit. And they couldn't believe that black people were able to vote before them. So that's when it got its momentum. It got its momentum right after black men were given the right to vote. And that's shortly after that happened. That's when the Jim Crow laws came into effect.
All right, let me ask you this though: what was the purpose of it though?
The purpose of it was to divide the black woman from the black man even further. Because in 1968, right around the time of the civil rights movement, that's when they really started getting them rights to vote for white women. It took them a mad long time to get it, because what happened was the white woman used the black woman to bring them into the feminist movement, to separate them from the civil rights movement. So that was a big ploy that they used.
It started in 1848.
Right. No, it started then, but they didn't get their rights until right around civil rights.
White women got the right to vote in 1920.
Well, here we go. Let's see what the elitist said. All right. One of these people that guides the way this system works. All right. So I want you to hear what the Rockefeller guy said to him, because he's saying some of the same things that y'all are saying. That's what Aaron Russo was saying, but the white guy laughed at him. All right. And then he gives him his reason. Here you go. Check this out.
And I said, I'm pretty conventional thinking about it at that point. I said, I think women have the right to work, get equal pay with men, just like they won the right to vote. You know, and he started to laugh. He said, "You're an idiot." And I said, "Why am I an idiot?" He said, "Let me tell you what that was about. We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded women's lib. And we're the ones who got all of the newspapers and television, the Rockefeller Foundation." He says, "And you want to know why?" He said, "There were two primary reasons. And they were, one reason was we couldn't tax him."
Damn, it's freezing again.
Yes.
It's
here.
Yeah, that is buffing though.
I don't know. I'm close to the Wi-Fi in here. I don't know why it's doing that.
Brother Rashid.
Yeah, I'm gonna try another room.
You got a big house, Brother Rashid. You got in that joint, man.
All right, here we go. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry for these technical difficulties, but let's see.
Hey, y'all, I got to get off because I'm getting ready to go I'm getting ready to fly down to Atlanta. But
Okay.
I had to join
Be safe
for
down there,
as long as I could. Huh?
Hey, Brother Saeed, be safe down there, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
Be safe, my brother.
I will. All right.
Well, don't worry, Brother Saeed, because I'm taping it, so you should be able to see it on YouTube sometime later. All right.
Yeah,
Brother.
yeah, traveling mercies, man.
Thank you.
All right. So can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, perfect.
Population before women's lib. And the second,
wait a minute, let me go back so y'all can hear
the
that.
Rockefeller Foundation. He says, and you want to know why? He said there were two primary reasons. And one reason was we couldn't tax half the population before women's lib. And the second reason was now we get the kids in school at an early age. We can indoctrinate the kids how to think, which breaks up their family. The kids start looking at the state as the family, as the school, as the officials, as their family, not as the parents teaching them. And so those are the two primary reasons for women's lib, which I thought up to that point was a noble thing. You know, when I saw their intentions behind it, where they were coming from when they created it, the thought of it, I saw the evil behind what I thought was a noble venture.
Aaron, did you know that Gloria Steinem, in one of her own books, now admits the CIA funded this magazine?
No, I had no idea about that. No, I never heard that.
Yeah, we're gonna
CIA funded this magazine?
Funded this magazine with the stated goal of taxing women and breaking up the family.
No kidding. I never heard that. Well, Nick told me. I mean, I know it, but not because I know the CIA was involved in it.
Well, Gloria Steinem was proud of it. Oh, the CIA wanted to help me help women.
No kidding.
So they funded it. Yeah, and of course it's divide and conquer.
Right,
and what they do is they focus in obviously on real problems. Women were getting shafted in many ways, but the elite wasn't planning to help them. They were planning to really shaft them and take men away from them. Look at what they did with black families. You only had about 10% illegitimacy 50 years ago in black communities, and now it's over 90%. And look at welfare. We're going to give you some money. You can't have a man in the house. Right? And so that was further to degrade the family. Totally destroyed. And now illegitimacy is over 50% in the general population.
Right. Well, see, the whole thing is these people control the money, so they make all the rules. You understand? And they put whatever rules they want them to affect. And the truth is, America has really become a socialist, communistic country. And everybody says it's a capitalistic country. It's not a capitalistic country. You know, how can it be capitalistic when you have a central bank? That's the first. It can't be. You know, the money.
Planned economy.
It's a planned economy. It's a phony. If they want to create prosperity, they just print dollars. They just make dollars or put digits into the economy, and now you have prosperity. You don't have real prosperity. You don't have real manufacturing. You just have money being injected in. It's an infusion of credit,
which only makes the government go into more debt.
Well,
all right. So what do y'all think about that piece?
It's right on time.
Right on time, right?
2020, it's still going on. Yes.
And the thing is, it made a lot of sense. You take the women and put them to work, then you can make more from taxing them, right? And then if you take the woman out of the house, who's there to teach the kids?
Right.
Right. So think about it. So
that's separation between the man and the woman.
Right. But not only that, see, you know, God gave us a template to work from.
Exactly.
They're going against that template. And think look at what's happening to the families. Look at what's happening to the communities. Because if the mother and father aren't the ones teaching them, then who's teaching them? Right?
Right.
The school, right? Which is not really education, it's indoctrination. Then you got social media, you got television, you got music. This is what these kids are doing. This is what they're listening to. This is becoming their educators.
Yes.
Right?
I mean,
And
one
JJ,
thing I do got something to say. And I just think more importantly, it changed traditional culture across the board. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? Because by them doing that and you know, giving women, you know, quote unquote, you know, power and equality, and now they going out to get jobs and do this and do that. You took them out of the home. It used to be, you know what I mean, the woman was home taking care of the family, taking care of the house.
right.
The man was out there making the money, you know what I mean, and that was the American way.
Right.
But now, you know what I mean, you know, now it's like the woman is thinking like the man, so you know, she on the go, he's on the go. You know what I mean? We got more broken families than ever.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Before you got, back in the day, you got somebody pregnant, they either went down south or you married them. That was it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it's just like boom, you know, these little guys is just keeping it right on moving and going over to the next one and everything else. And now we got all of these, you know, broken families, but it literally start from there. You know what I mean? Because you took the woman out the home, you know what I mean, and actually had her believe that that was not her place in the home, you know, and made those seem like such negative, you know, negative things. And now, you know, here we are and everything is as screwed up as ever.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
you're going against the template that God gave us.
Correct.
So that's one of the goals of this system is to take people away from God, to create atheists. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot going on. Anybody else have something?
It's funny you say that, Brother Rashid, because on July 4th, I had went over. It was actually my son's birthday, so we had some family and friends over and whatnot. And one of my friends' daughter and her girlfriend came. Now we're talking to the girlfriend; they both in college or whatever, and the girl, and they both black. And the girl was like, "Well, I don't believe in God," and I was just like, "What?"
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It took me back. Now I can see you be like, I don't believe in Jesus, I don't believe in Allah, you know. But she was like, I don't believe in God. Like that's in my family, we don't do that. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
That deep.
But I have I got a good one on that I did. I'll probably just send you the YouTube link. But it's talking about the move to atheism and how they're doing it through television and stuff. It's very interesting. Very.
You know, and it's amazing too, my brother, is that because of the devil, you cannot see him and you cannot touch him. So you think everything you're doing is you.
Right.
You know, I'm making decisions. I'm the one that's doing it. And then you get caught up in something you can't get out of, and you say, whoa, now I need somebody else to make a decision. There ain't nobody else but
Right.
God.
And see, that's funny because there's a verse in the Quran that talks about how when people get in trouble, they want to call on God. And he delivers them from their trouble. Then they turn back to their ways of not believing. Right? So that's what I'm saying. That the thing is that, you know, us as people who are trying to be moral, trying to be righteous, we need to be working together because they've divided us, you know, and they don't want us to work together.
And one of the things that I feel like when I read that statement, is when a lot of youth are in our community and they get in trouble, the first thing that we always say is, well, where's the parents?
Right.
And not understanding that through from the cradle to prison pipeline, or having two jobs and being underpaid at both, you know, and you know, you have children, you have a home that's functional, you got kids in there, you have adults in there. But like myself, I was raised in a single parent home and my mother was working two jobs. So while my mom is working two jobs, I'm at home, you know, with my older sister, and my older sister is 8 years older than me. So she's 16, I'm 8. You know, we know my mom has a day job and a night job, so my sister will allow her boyfriend to come over, sneak over during the night. They'll give me something to keep me quiet. You know what I mean? While they chill out. But look at that.
Right.
Look at that dynamic. You know what I mean? Whereas though the children are raising the children, the school or giving the ideology of the children. But then when all else fails, once these kids get in trouble, the first thing people are saying, well, where's the parents? In all actuality, the kid was never raised by the parents.
Right.
Thank you.
He was raised by the community. The kid was raised by the system.
Right.
Yep.
Now think about it now, where they're being raised by television and social media and internet. And all the stuff that they can find absolutely anything they want on that internet. Absolutely anything. Pornography, whatever.
One of the things with that too that hurts me the most about where we are in today's age.
Right.
I say probably a year ago, I did a class on juvenile suicide. It was a young black kid who was 8 years old who hung himself. He said he left like he was getting bullied at school, and he told his parents, but told the teachers, kid was still getting bullied, but he wasn't only getting bullied in school, he was also getting bullied online. And subsequently, he hung himself, and his mother walked in the home and found her 8-year-old son who hung himself. Now, where did the 8-year-old even begin to learn something like that?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's funny because, like I said, you got to be very careful with what your child consumes. On Netflix, they have a show called 13 Reasons Why. And this show is basically pushing revenge suicide. You know, so it's, you know, I've had a child in a K-8 school commit suicide. You know, they said he was watching a show called 1,000 Ways to Die. Okay, but that's what I'm saying. We're not monitoring what our children are seeing, and these people that run these entertainment industries and stuff are demonic.
Don't care. There's money.
Demonic. I'll tell you one. There was a video game. It was called Dukem Nukem.
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that? All right. There's a part in there where they have you go into a bathroom, take feces out the toilet, and use it as a weapon. And use it as a weapon. And a lot of parents, they don't realize they're getting these games for these kids, and they don't know what type of weapons in these games. So, you know, we have a very hard situation to deal with, and it's not something that's going to be dealt with overnight. It's going to deal with time and people starting to teach their children better. Well, basically being able to teach their children.
And when you talk about how media influences, I can go to a K-8 school, I could go to a high school, I could go to a college, I could go to my younger brother's house, and my younger brother is 34 years old. This guy puts in at least in a week, at least 20 hours on GTA, on Grand Theft Auto.
Wow.
And the more, and when I talk to kids, younger kids, they're playing Grand Theft Auto. And when the things that you're now seeing in reality, just walking up, shooting people, going and just stealing cars, bank robbery, all of this, it's all okay on that game, but it's no way you can be putting in 1,000 hours, 10,000 hours a year on this game and not be effective.
Wow.
I mean, it definitely affects you in some aspect of your mental capacity.
Exactly. You are what you eat, or you are what you consume. So it's funny because that same game you're talking about, they can also meet up with prostitutes and have them sexual acts on them.
Right.
So, you know, something's not right here. All right. But let's look at
hey Jordan, I know you're listening, Jordan. You got any thoughts on this, man? I'd love to hear your perspective.
All right, so I just want to keep it short. I have a very, very different perspective. I'm younger, And so I grew up in just a different time, you know, like I remember a time before the internet, but I don't ever remember my coming of age was parallel with the coming of age of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a way that the internet is going away. And I also see that the internet, the games, the technology, I feel personally that there's more, if handled correctly, there's more benefit than cost. I think it's just a matter of figuring out how do we as a community handle it. And also, I think there's the move towards atheism, as it's been said, is not necessarily a move towards I don't believe in anything greater than myself, but more so a move away from organized
religion,
where people are, thinking on an individual basis, thinking inward, and then making judgments based off of what makes sense to them, as opposed to what this community would say if they acted a certain way. And I think that's a backlash to a government they don't trust. I think that's an effect on this enormous amount of information that we're getting. And I do see in my nephew can't pay attention for more than 5 seconds because he's playing a video game, he's watching YouTube videos. It's only a matter of time before he discovers something that he shouldn't. But I think the question is not, are these things bad? The question is, what can be done to address it? Because it's going to happen, and it seems like something that's inevitable as of right now, with the state of all of the age of information.
That's also the thing, because we have to control we have to help the youth develop an internal control, right? Because they're not always going to be with their parent. So when they're away from their parent, they have to have an internal control to be able to stay away from certain things that's going to lead them down certain paths. I mean, this stuff, is so bad that by them consuming so much of this programming, some of their thoughts are not even their own.
Awesome.
Some of their thoughts are not even their own.
Can I say something real quick? I mean, we talking about these games and and how we are younger people are being exposed to these things, and maybe it might affect them psychologically. Maybe they might emulate some stuff or whatever the case may be. But back since the beginning of time, man has been infatuated with who is the biggest, who is the strongest, who could and who could overpower who. You know what I mean? You can look back in anybody's religion, you can look back in anybody's history books, and that's always been how things were settled. Okay? We're gonna go to war, we stronger than you, we're gonna beat you, and now, we're going to conquer, or or we're going to win for our cause. And we've always glorified the bigger and the stronger people. You know what I mean? And so these games aren't really doing anything but just exaggerating that. You know what I mean? But that concept is still going to be the same. So even once you change all of this stuff up and say, okay, we're not going to let you play with this stuff, it doesn't mean that that's going to go away, because society still operates the same way. You know what I mean? If we're going to do something, we're going to take it by force. You know what I mean? And that's just the way that we operate as human beings. So, it's not just on a internet platform. This is just the way that we are and the way that we've been since the beginning of time. There are battles and wars in the Bible. You know, I haven't read the Quran, but I'm sure it's some in the Quran. It's some everywhere. You know what I mean? Because that is just the way that, you know, we settle things.
All right. Good point, Brother Roger. But we're going to move on because I want to try to, like I said, get through some of this stuff that we have here. But this was what the quote was from the Aaron Russo interview when he talked about Rockefeller. Rockefeller said, "Now we get the kids in school at an early age. We can indoctrinate the kids how to think. We can indoctrinate the kids how to think." So a lot of the youth's thoughts go against ours because they've been indoctrinated by the system, okay? Which breaks up their family. The kids start looking at the state as a family. But then here we go right here. Let's go to the next slide. It says, why? In terms of feminism, money and power. What else? New World Order social agenda. Defeminize the female, emasculate the male. Destroy the American family by sending women into the workforce, brainwash children to become obedient adults and shopping automats as adults, then tax and rule the world, okay? And one of the things that I'm looking at here is where it says defeminize the female, emasculate the male. That is something that's very prevalent in this society.
That's the Willie Lynch letter, you know what I mean?
Yeah, basically. But so you can see their plan is consistent, you know, from all the way back to Willie Lynch, you know, their plan is defensive. Okay, and if you
and it's important for them to emasculate the male, take the strength, because then now even and it's getting to the point where it's not, regardless of the race in the movie, the woman is now taking the lead.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
The woman is taking the lead in most featured films now.
You
and
know,
the guy is more so of the back. So it's the gender role has definitely switched.
Yeah, they're switching it. And the thing is this.
What'd you say, Jordan?
I just wanted to add a quick thing. I just wanted to throw this out there, see what you guys thought. Could it possibly maybe gender roles aren't evolving and less switching? Because I mean, the godfather of rock and roll, Little Richard. I mean, you got Prince. These guys could be considered feminine, but does it mean that that's like necessarily a bad thing? I don't see how that might change the culture, but I don't see how that changes the culture for the worse.
No, I think in my opinion, I know men like who also been raised and they're heterosexual guys who have feminine tendencies. They have feminine ways about them. It doesn't make them gay. I'm not saying just because you have some tendencies that or how they would say androgynous, you know what I mean, doesn't necessarily make you gay. But I think in featured films now, they are making the woman more masculine in movies that I see than the male. And I'm not saying it always has always been that way. And I'm not saying that you don't have some masculine females out here, some women who are strong, you know what I mean? But I think it's just what you see, what you perceive to be real than it is. And when we watch these movies and we watch these TV shows, I think, and going back to the Willie Lynch letter, so when I see emasculation of the male, you know, pushing the female forward and making the male take that step back is taking a switch of the gender role in a sense for me. You know what I mean? But that's just my opinion.
But you know, too, also, it seems as if what I have observed from this system is that they don't really care about people's sexual orientation, right? But the thing is, and to be honest, if you look at it, homosexuality is a form of genocide. All right. And I say that because if I can turn you away from your natural mate, you won't reproduce.
Right.
Nah. You
So
can't say that. That's no, because
why can't I say that?
people are not being made to be gay. That's not how it works. People are not transformed to be gay. And so it's not like we're having a shortage of Black children, and people and some entities trying to turn people gay to control the pop. That's not how it works. People who have a predisposition, we don't know exactly what it is, but people have a preference. People are more complicated than that. They're not looking at a TV and then suddenly becoming gay or gradually becoming gay. That's who they are. And it's not something that is detrimental. It's just who people are. And we can't, like, I don't see how misconstruing gender roles in movies is damaging. I see how always portraying Black people as violent as damaging. But I don't see, like, all right, if you show a gay Black male in a movie, that's empowering. If you show a masculine, strong Black woman, that's empowering. I think we're misinterpreting strength in women for actually showing their importance, instead of, like, it's not masculating a woman. It's showing that she's actually important.
What I'm saying is that this system, they support that. Well, they kind of, like, they're not really concerned about how these people feel. Okay, what I'm saying is that they use it as a part of their weapon. I'm trying to get to that quickly, so because I want you to see something. All right, but let me move on so we can get through this. All right. Now let me show y'all this piece.
Yo, and just for saying it, I appreciate all of this dialogue. I think it's healthy and it's good to see different perspectives. So thank you.
All right. But now, before they mentioned that this woman named Gloria Steinem, I'm going to skip that video that she was supported by the CIA. All right. With her feminist magazine. All right. And that, like we said, it was for a purpose. All right. But let me show you what some of this modern day feminism looks like. Okay. And you tell me what you think about this.
You, brothers.
All right. Y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Pretty. What the fuck? I'm not the pretty fucking helpless princess in distress. I'm pretty fucking powerful and ready for success. So what is more offensive? A little girl saying fuck, or the fucking unequal and sexist way society treats girls and women? It's our future. So listen up, grown-ups. Here's some words more fucked up than the word fuck. Pay inequality. Women are paid 23% less than men. Exact same fucking work. And women who graduate university with straight A's get paid as much as men who only got C's. So bad grades equal more fame. Just because you're a boy? Hello and hell no. Pay up, motherfucker. I shouldn't need a penis to get paid. Rape and violence. Fucked up facts. 1 out of every 5 women will be sexually assaulted or raped by a man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which one of us will it be? So how many more women have to get knocked down before society stands up and stops it? Here's a hot tip. Stop telling girls how to dress and start teaching boys not to fucking rape. We're glad a women's right to vote is here, but equality's next step is walking to the car without fear. Be pretty. So here's the tricky thing. Pretty, it's a compliment. But here's how this focus works to girls' detriment. Society must be worrying about the shape of my ass. So fuck focusing on how I look. And give me a book. The continued sexism, girls and women's stale face. Instead of cleaning these girls' mouths out with soap, maybe society should clean up its act. This is what a feminist looks like. Girls just want to have fun, dimensional rights. $5 from each shirt goes to kick-ass charities that are fighting every day to make the world more equal for women and girls. Yo, bro, when you tell a boy it's bad to act like a girl, it's because you think it's bad to be a girl. Fuck that sexist shit. Fuckhate.com.
What you think?
Mind blower.
Mind blower.
Wow. That's all I can say is wow.
Jordan, what you think, Jordan?
Wow, that's crazy.
My daughter. Please. Please. Oh, God.
Can I just say that one thing that I think we all agree on is I hate when people use children for whatever political means.
Right.
Yes.
But and I also want to say, even though like I'm a very opinionated person, if I come across as, you know, just stopping very argumentative, that's just who I am. So I just want to put that out there. I respect all of you guys. And but
I just want to know your thoughts on that video.
That video was a lot, and I think there are important sentiments within it, and I think it was purposely provocative for people to pay attention. But I don't think that was marketed well, and I hate when people use children like that. But
right, yeah.
I mean, but then you think about these kids, right? See, these children have been given a whole bunch of child rights, okay? And the reason why they've been given these child rights is because really the state doesn't want us to control them. They don't want the parent to chastise them, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking about abuse, but I'm talking about chastising them. Right? And, you know, it seems as if the parent has no power. So if a teacher at school really doesn't have any power, because the parents don't even really have any power. And these kids are cursing and all of this stuff. I mean, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
If you look at what these children are consuming, and it's being, like I said, this is being purposefully done.
Exactly.
And
So,
with some I know of cases where a kid didn't get necessarily what they wanted for Christmas or a birthday, and called, you know, on their parents and made an allegation on their parent.
Wow.
Then found unfounded, but the
Yeah.
damage is already done, because now the parent is in a situation where they like, well, what can I do? The parents is to be a parent today and have a kid who was unruly. It's almost like you kind of in a disadvantage, really.
It's blackmail.
Right.
Indeed.
All right, so let's go to this next slide. It says children are great imitators, so give them something great to imitate.
Exactly.
Right?
Gotta have that.
Hello? This is Gary. I've been quiet all day, but I just want to say one thing. All this is everybody's talking about. It's very simple. It's value. Value.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, think about especially this comment right here, giving something great to imitate. Value. If you show a kid how to value something little small, and I want to go back to the other gentleman we were talking about. Well, the internet is here, and we don't know where it's going. May not leave. Well, this is one thing that I want to bring up real briefly, and it was like a hoax theory, almost like before COVID came out. I don't know if everybody heard about this hoax about we're going to have an EMP. I don't know if everybody know what an EMP is.
Right.
But that's electronic magnetic pulse. It basically would have shut everything down, anything electric. So all the stuff that we're talking about, you know, like internet, TV, everything, okay, playing games, all electricity. So I stop and I think about like cultures that are very much alive and well right now today, They don't have any of this stuff, but they do have their values, whatever they are, and they don't have half the problems. But it's a value thing. You know, as adults, even when we grow, even us old heads, we have values that we learned from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
now it seems like the value concept is totally off the grid, meaning that, you know, it's important to like put so many things what these girls saying, like, you know, how to be looked as a woman. Well, I mean, women always been doing what they want to be doing back since the beginning of time. Yet they never really, you know, felt that it was such life threatening that they need to have to be in the forefront. And now all of a sudden, as manipulative and to change, I guess, society, now it is the forefront. When you're talking about you're killing more things, forget it, like you're talking about minorities, you talk about masculinity, you talk about all these things, but that's a value concept.
All right. So thanks, good brother. All right, we're going to move on to the next slide. This one was a quote from John F. Kennedy, who said, "A child miseducated is a child lost." And now this is the next piece I want you to see. All right. And this again. Let me see. Oh, here we go. I want you to check this out. All right. Because we talk about the importance of the woman. All right. But check this out. I want you to see and hear this. Some
Fuck
of it.
out of here. But yes, like I said, they came and got them bitches.
So what this girl is talking about, one of those family services came and took her kids because of something that she did on the internet. All right. But listen to her.
Shay, they gone. Them bitches gone. Them bitches is gone. All 7 of them. It's a party, it's a party, it's a party, hey. It's a party, it's a party, it's a party, hey. Okay, y'all, for real, I'm gonna get the credit. Girl, yes, them kids was bad as fuck anyway. Fuck them kids. Veronica, for real. Fuck them kids, girl. Fuck them kids. I keep letting my shit go out. What's up, cuz? They came and got them kids. What's up, cuz? Delilah. What's up, Keith? Cuz?
So she continues to go on this little tirade for about 5 minutes. But what do you think?
Well, I got 2 opinions about it. I'm glad they came and got the kids. Obviously, she had some type of mental issue. You know what I mean? And in a weird way, I'm glad to see them come and get the kids and not have that situation like the white lady out in California, I think, where the 2 kids just got found dead. They were found dead. So it's like, if she doesn't have any remorse with them taking her children out of the home, especially if you have 7 kids and there's no remorse, I think it's better that the kids aren't with her. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously she has some diagnosis that hasn't been issued, man. And it's sad that, you know, people have these kids and then these become the parents who are coming down to school to fight when you're trying to educate the kids. But like you just said, kids are imitating the parent.
Right.
So if the parent doesn't have a I don't care attitude towards the kid, that kid is going to get that to the world. Hence where we are. You know what I mean? So it's sad to see, but it's reality.
And that's the thing is children do what they see.
Exactly.
Just like adults do what they see also. Because we want to copy off the people getting the Gucci bags and all of that stuff. But I mean, just look at her whole demeanor. She's sitting there smoking a blunt or whatever. And, you know, it's cursing And a lot of these young females are like that.
But you know what amazes me is
Go
that
ahead.
they have the attitude that you can talk to your kids like that when you want to, and whenever you feel like it. But one day you're going to be 70, 80 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kid can come back in your life. And it ain't because you cuss them out that they're going to just go and walk away. Then that's going to be a burden for the rest of your life. And you wonder, why you acting like this? Because they learned that from what they seen.
What they seen. Absolutely.
And it's going to come back to you.
And then they will watch their parent, and then when they have children, they will think that's the way to parent.
But also just think about the trauma-filled relationships that naturally they have in their life. You know, when you have a disconnect like that with your mother, how can I trust a teacher? How can I trust a boyfriend?
Exactly.
How can I trust a girlfriend? If you're not giving me that abuse, that sick relationship, because the first person you learn to love is the parent. You feel me? So if your parent is showing you love by cursing you out, by being happier when you're gone, this is something that trickles down. And no matter whatever comes into that kid's life, that kid is so damaged. You feel me? It's going to take so much work just to get them to trust in a quote unquote normal way. If I'm not telling you shut the F up or smacking you up, you feel me? Like, I've met women in my life who thought because I don't put my hands on you, you don't love me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that is something that's sick. You know what I'm saying? That's trauma. And we're dealing with a country of people who are molded and who are acting on their trauma, man. And those kids, those 7 kids who are now going anywhere in the world, in anyone's house, in anyone's organization, those kids are traumatized. And mom at home smoking a blunt, happy that they're gone.
Right. And I'll shut my mouth after this. And one thing that I lead to on this is JJPC, jail, juvenile in prison, or the cemetery. Why they're going to end up there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm just saying that because I made crazy money out of that system, it's money. It's people making over $100,000 a year babysitting. You know what I mean? And that's ludicrous. When that money could be going in your pocket, doing what's right. And all you get is the people.
One thing I want to comment that I've seen, no matter how bad the kid is another thing that everybody's talking about is respect. I can take the baddest kid that there is, and somehow they understand who is being respectful and who's not. Whether or not it's cursing or not cursing. But one thing that I've had to struggle with is when I run across a kid that's not his fault that he is the way he is.
Right.
And I have to listen to what they say and how they're saying it to me. And then I have to stop back and understand and say to myself, first of all, which takes a lot to say they don't know any better.
Right.
And I notice every time that I've done that, they say automatically, they know maybe they're doing it wrong, but in my own way, I'm trying to give them some respect that they're not a product of their own fault.
Right.
And by doing that, that kind of like gives me not a big edge, but an intro to possibly get their attention. And at that point, the challenge is for me to try to then slowly let them know that, you know what, I understand your pain, but isn't it another way how you could express yourself?
Right.
And I got a question for Brother Rashid and for Jordan, because Jordan is also a teacher.
Okay.
Reading this statement by John F. Kennedy, a child miseducated is a child lost. So how do you begin to educate a miseducated person, child, whoever?
Well, I'll take it back first to the verse in the Bible where it talks about how you if you raise the child up in the ways of the Lord early, then that child won't stray from that. The first thing is teaching a child about morals and values about God, and trying to help them develop that internal control so that they won't do bad things when their parents aren't around. They have a respect for God. All right. The second thing is that in school they have to be taught more about their past, and I mean not just slavery. I'm talking about the greatness of African people. So it's in terms of I think those things are the most important, but the most thing that's important is about God, because like I said, once a child has an internal control, they'll know to try to prevent themselves from going into different things that are not righteous.
And Brother Jordan?
Yeah, I think I've actually thought a lot about this. I think in school, schools in impoverished neighborhoods have inherently different needs than schools in the suburbs. Yet schools are trying to do the same exact things in completely different environments. We all know the reasons why Black family households end up like the video that we just saw. We know that there's a bunch of things going against us. Yet we allow our schools to continue operating as if these kids don't go home to anything traumatic at all. And so I would really like to see a school system that prioritizes, meaning you're spending 5 out of the 8 hours a day just talking to these kids, showing them how to express their emotions. What do you do when you look at a page and you see gibberish and you know the expectation is that you should read it like that? What do you do when you feel stupid and it makes you angry and you haven't gotten that instruction at home? What do you do? If we don't address that in schools, no one else is going to, because we don't have that village mentality that once existed. We don't have parents who are willing to have neighbors beat their kids. We don't have that same dynamic. And I think it is largely, the onus is largely on the public education school system and on communities like ours to influence them to say, hey, our kids don't have control over their emotions. They would be able to learn better if they did. And they need more time and more energy spent on that and less time and energy spent on reading some French philosopher or reading Shakespeare or practicing for a test. Because I believe if this kid can say, I'm frustrated right now, I'm gonna go take a walk, and they say that to me as a teacher, that's a win, because that means when he comes back, he will be able to try. And even if he doesn't succeed, he succeeded at something that he wasn't given at home. And then once you figure out how to do that effectively in schools, you do that in kindergarten. Then you can change generations. And if those kids turn to God, they turn to God. But we have to realize that these kids are coming from completely different environments. North Philly is completely different than South Philly. And in neighborhood schools, they somehow end up in other neighborhoods. So we got to realize that we have to guide them to figure out, how do we deal with something on an objective level? How do you make yourself feel better without harming the people around you? And we got to listen to them. But as a teacher, I don't have the capacity to do that because I have to do this unit, this unit, this unit, this unit.
Well, the other part with it too, the parents need to be out as a partnership, because as a teacher, one of the things that the teachers are always undermined by is the actual parent, because there is so much documentation. If you have like a real good teacher that understands that they just can't be in a classroom 8 hours, there's more than 8 hours in the day. They can't just go home and just deal with their own stuff. They really have to give more than enough time if they really want to take their job seriously. Those type of teachers, they're not a lot, but they're out there. The minute that they're going down a road and they reach a troubled kid, and the parent knows this kid is troubled because they'll start seeing the kid differently. Next thing you know, the parent will be up at that school. And then if there's anything that's out of line or whatever, there's documentation, which actually makes the teacher have to be cautious because if you don't dot the I's and cross the T's, you cross that barrier, there you go. There's the problem. And so, and there's no incentive. I see no incentive of all. The fact that parents want to give up that they didn't do their job, so they send the kids to school, figure that teachers want to take the time to do the job. All right. There's no incentive to say that I'm not criticizing the parent. You are what you are. You're a kid yourself. I'm just gonna put it out there. You're a kid yourself. You didn't know. You're trying to raise a kid yourself. I'm a parent. I'm a teacher. I mean, I'm supposed to be versed, maybe not, but I should be. Help this kid along. Okay. Where is the incentive for the parent to be a partnership with their child, with the teacher to help and work together? Because that's why when there's strikes or where teachers don't get paid or whatever, or so forth and so on, or get falsely written up for a kid accusing a teacher of improper behavior, just anything. There is no support, and the teacher's thrown to the wolves, okay? And the parent doesn't have any incentive to say, hey, wait a minute, you know what? I'm in this together. This is for my child. If you multiply that exponentially in a classroom of 20 kids and you have every parent that supported teacher, it begins to form somewhat of like a community or like a tribe. It just basically, because when you look back to how it used to be, okay, back in the day before we have all these regulations that we have in the school district, okay, you know, a parent could discipline, another parent could discipline another kid in a schoolyard because this kid hit their kid. You can't do that now because if that happens, the first thing is going to happen is that the teachers are going to say, well, the teacher's going to be put on the carpet and say, like, well, how did this happen? How did not know? How, so forth and so on. It just goes exponential. And so, therefore, when you leave the classroom environment and you go back to the neighborhoods, nobody wants to even discipline somebody else's kid. Okay. Nobody wants to even put their neck out for somebody else's kid. So when you come to the school district, okay, it's almost the same problem where you're saying, well, the kid needs to learn this. I agree 100% with the gentleman that says that we can talk all this important stuff that's going to make you more educational, but we've lost the foundation. Without the foundation, all these other stuff that would really make the kid more enlightened, maybe more creative, more great. But yet, the foundation is not even there.
All right. Good point, good brother. I wanted to try to get through the rest of this information. But let me just show you a quote about what someone said about women. All right. This is by Henry Frederick Emile. He said, woman is the salvation or destruction of the family. She carries its destinies in the folds of her mantle. All right. So, you know, the woman plays a very important role in the family, you know, and when we look at that particular woman, the importance of her being the salvation or destruction. I mean, you can see where that would go. If you have a righteous mother, then the kids could probably raise them to be righteous. But you can see how this was dealing with the feelings or thoughts about her kids, which was hard.
Brother Carl, can you mute your go on mute, please?
So I want to try to end with this first part of these very important videos that I want to show you. But hopefully we can get them in real quick. Let me see. I mean, we'll get this one in. because there's some interesting information coming. All right, but I want you to listen to this. This should be just a few minutes. Let me see. Oh, it's gonna do that to me. No.
So, where are we now? September 11th was the jumpstart for what is now an accelerated agenda by the ruthless elite. It was a staged war pretext no different than the sinking of the Lusitania, the provoking of Pearl Harbor, and the Gulf of Tonkin lie. In fact, if 9/11 wasn't a planned war pretext, it would be an exception to the rule. It has been used to launch 2 unprovoked illegal wars, one against Iraq and one against Afghanistan. However, 9/11 was a pretext for another war as well, the war against you. The Patriot Act, Homeland Security, the Military Tribunals Act, and other legislations are all completely and entirely designed to destroy your civil liberties and limit your ability to fight back against what is coming. Currently in the United States, unannounced to most brainwashed Americans, your home can be searched without a warrant, without you being home. You can in turn be arrested with no charges revealed to you, detained indefinitely with no access to a lawyer, and legally tortured, all under the suspicion that you might be a terrorist. If you need a painted picture of what is happening in this country, let's recognize how history repeats itself. In February 1933, Hitler staged a false flag attack, burning down his own German parliament building, the Reichstag, and blamed it on communist terrorists. In the next few weeks, he passed the Enabling Act, which completely eradicated the German Constitution, destroying people's liberties. He then led a series of preemptive wars, all justified to the German people as necessary to maintaining homeland security.
Des Kommunismus und diese Ideologie verbrüderten anderen Organisationen ändert dies nicht. Our enemy is a radical network of terrorists and every government that supports them.
It's time to wake up. The people in power go out of their way to make sure that you are perpetually misled and manipulated. The majority's perception of reality, especially in the political arena, is not their own. It is shrewdly imposed upon them without them even knowing it. For example, the public at large actually believes the invasion of Iraq is going badly, as sectarian violence doesn't seem to stop. What the public fails to see is that the destabilization of Iraq is exactly what the people behind the government want. This war is to be sustained so the region can be divided up, domination of the oil maintained, continual profits reaped for the defense contractors, and most importantly, permanent military bases established to be used as a launching pad against other oil-bearing, non-conforming countries such as Iran and Syria. For further implication that the civil war and destabilization is purely intentional, in 2005, 2 elite British SAS officers were arrested by Iraqi police after being caught driving around in their car shooting at civilians while dressed up as Arabs. After being arrested and taken to a jail in Basra, the British Army immediately requested the release of these men. When the Basra government refused, British tanks came in and physically broke out the men from the Basra prison. If you wish to destroy...
Very important statement here. Listen to this. He said, if you wish to destroy an area.
How do you do it? Well, there are 2 ways. You can go in there and bomb it and so forth, but that is not very efficient. What you do is you try to get the people in that area to kill each other and to destroy their own territory, their own farms. And that's what's been done in that area. The way in which you destroy an opponent is get him to destroy himself by dividing his ranks against one another. And then you feed both sides. You have agents feeding both sides, inflaming both sides, and they kill each other off. And it's time that some of us woke up to this reality to understand that people who try to maintain empires and create empires do it by manipulating the people they're trying to conquer.
You might want to ask yourself why the entire culture is utterly saturated with mass media.
All right, I'm gonna stop it right there because I know we're getting low on time. But what did you think about what he said about if you wish to destroy the area?
I think you see it every day in our community, man.
Yeah.
I got to go to a funeral tomorrow, actually, for a young kid who was shot 17 times last.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely something to the madness. And how many guns? The guns, it's easy. A kid once told me, Mr. M, it's easier for me to find a gun than it is to find a healthy meal.
Wow.
So when you hear stuff like that, you know what I mean? These guns are being made all across the world and ending up in North Philadelphia.
Exactly.
We don't have gun factories in North Philadelphia.
We don't.
So it's something to that. And like Brother Carlton said, JJPC said, juvenile jail, prison, cemetery. That is the pipeline that hits a lot of brothers. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if it was something that is too common for it not to be a coincidence.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it definitely has something to it.
Yeah, it's definitely a plan that they use everywhere.
Yes.
Get the community to destroy themselves, and we are the most marginalized communities in America, and really throughout the world. And this is what they do. They turn us against each other. They create these divisions. Look at how they dressed up the two English guys as Arabs and had them go around shooting the people in the area.
Right.
You know? So that this system, I'm telling you, this is a very powerful and wicked system.
Yes, it is.
But
Brother Rashid,
I really got to show y'all something. But go
Brother
ahead.
Joe, I want to say thank you, man, for that school system that you guys stay involved in. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Y'all earn your money. You do earn it.
Well, the thing is that, you know, I've been at my school for over 27 years now.
Wow.
This is into my 20th year, and you know, I think it's successful when you treat the kids as if they are your own.
Right. Got you.
You know, when you treat those kids like they're your own, you know, it's a beautiful thing. You know, you get a lot of connections.
And brothers, we're going to now move to closing words. Do we have any? Because this was the second week for Brother Rashid, and we're definitely thankful. So, can we have any closing words for him and his presentation for the past 2 weeks?
Well,
I just said,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, brother.
Oh no, I appreciate everything that you're doing. I appreciate the lessons. You know, I am an educator also. Now I feel your pain. I understand what you're talking about building those connections, because we at the school, we handle their social needs and emotional needs.
Wow.
And that's the way that we have to look at it. And that's how they act. Actually, we're more involved in their life than their parents.
Yep.
Awesome. Great.
That's something that we fail to realize. A lot of people fail to realize that. So the way they see us is on a whole different level. Right. And when we go out into the areas, the urban areas, we're easily to tell them to say, hey, stop that. You need to stop that. I had a parent call me and tell me that they won't listen to her. They called me to get me to tell him to clean his room.
Wow.
Wow. That's deep.
Wow.
Wow.
That's the impact of an educator. Because like I said, we're there most of the time. Even after everything, no report card conference, we're there. And we're there for 10 months. And we're also there, you know, outside of that. Right. So I feel your pain. I appreciate it. And that pipeline in prison is real. And I'm teaching 3rd grade this year. So that's where they start at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Start a plan.
But hopefully, Brother Mary, you can give me a date to kind of finish up this important stuff I wanted to show you.
Do y'all, brother, you need one more week?
If you can give me one more week, we'll definitely get through the rest of the stuff that I had set up.
Well, I wish I could have been on last week. I missed the last week, but I definitely enjoyed this week.
Yeah, well, I taped it, so I'll be putting it on YouTube soon.
Okay.
Right, so let's finish it up then, Brother Rashid. We'll do one more week and then we'll move on.
And we'll move on. Yep.
Awesome. I'll
Perfect.
be here next week then.
All right, then, brothers. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming out once again this week. This is a Cool 7 event. And actually, before all of the brothers jump off, too, in August, we're going to put together a barbecue for the brothers here where we'll be socially distanced. It'll be at a park. You know, probably get a volleyball court or something like that. We could probably play some volleyball or something together. But and share a meal together. And we'll be looking to do that in August sometime just to really for us to come together and commune. So keep an eye out for that. But I wanted to say thanks for everybody for coming out again this week.
And
thank you.
And I just
all right, brothers. Well, have a good one, everybody.
Sharing y'all time too. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Carlson Young, how are you, sir?
Oh, Mr. Harris, how you doing, my brother?
Well, I'm well. Thank you for joining. See you next week, all right?
Yeah, next week. I'm glad you tuned me in because I got my studying.
Did I get you the shirt? I didn't get you the shirt. I'm going to call you, okay?
I got you.
I'll call
God
you.
bless you, my brothers.
All right, thank you.
Take care, brother.
Baby, see if she-